Hello, everyone. I'm Dara Bunjon, and who knew these weeks disappear so fast? Here I am again. For the first timers, if you've not seen the Food Enthusiast, I'm Dara Bunjon, PR maven, food stylist, food writer, and frustrated baker. Have you ever wondered what a personal chef is? What do they do? Today's guest is Shelbie Wassel, Shallots Personal Chef Service, and she does a whole lot more beyond that, and we'll talk about that as well. Let's say hello to Shelbie.
Hey there. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Shelbie. What's cooking in your kitchen today?
I'm happy to say nothing. And we'll start a little later because I'm going to be really good and I'm going to make dinner for us tonight.
Well, your lucky husband. He doesn't do without, does he?
No, let's just say he could stand to lose a few. But it was really nice. A patient of his came in, they're a farmer actually, and they came in with a huge bounty of produce for everybody in the office, which was lovely. So he brought home a tremendous amount of fresh veggies. A neighbor gave me some basil the other day. So I really have been doing a lot of cooking for us this week. So it's good. I've got gorgeous tomatoes. They gave me fresh green beans. So I'm going to do a Greek green bean dish with cinnamon, a little bit of butter, maybe a Greek style oregano chicken. It should be good. It should be a good Thursday night supper.
Good. Sounds good. So let's tell everybody what a personal chef is.
Okay, a personal chef. We generally, for the most part, have regular clients. We go bi-weekly, at least that's the way I do it. And we prepare dinner. We do usually 5 entrees at a time with accompanying side dishes. And what's so nice about it is everything is customized. So if there are dietary concerns or health issues, this food is customized right for the family that I'm working for. Everything is purchased fresh. The cooking is done in the safety of the client's kitchen. Everything is packaged and labeled. Heating instructions are left for the client. And I say bye-byes and see you in another 2 weeks. So that's the bulk of what I do. I also do some small dinner parties and romantic dinners for 2. At least that's what we did pre-COVID. COVID has changed things for most of the personal chefs to a degree.
And for you, how has it changed things?
Well, it's sort of a double-edged sword because obviously everybody, especially, think back to April and May when we really were not leaving our houses pretty much at all. Think how lovely it would be to be able to open your refrigerator and have wonderful home cooked meals waiting for you. You didn't have to try to go to the grocery store. The problem is initially, did you want that person coming into your house? Let's be honest. And frankly, as a chef of a certain age, was I comfortable going into my clients' houses as well? So that's sort of where the double-edged sword hit. For a few of my very closest clients, we paused for maybe 6 or 8 weeks, and then I continued under very, very strict guidelines. Frankly, I have not taken on a new client right now as far as personal chef service because I don't know. Do you want to go into a stranger's house? Let's be honest. It's a different world we're in right now. But we are working under the very strictest of conditions, taking our own temperature. Obviously, we're masked and gloved. We've always been ServSafe certified so that we're following all the health guidelines. And now we've just amped it up. So, yeah, it has affected me when I'm not doing dinner parties. Right now, it'll come back, but we've had to, it's the old story. We make lemons out of lemonade. So, we just have to do the best we can. And now we've turned everything virtual.
Right, so that brings me, I'm just going to come in very quickly. You're now tied in with Heidi Hiller, who's innovative events.
Right.
That you're doing. She has just become certified as a virtual event.
Yes, she has.
Mm-hmm. she subcontracts you to do like showers. Why don't you fill us in a little bit more on
Yeah,
that?
I mean, unfortunately, look, this has hit everybody, but it has hit the event industry so hard. All the bar and bat mitzvahs have been canceled. You know, they're doing things on Zoom. Corporations are not doing their annual sales productions like they've done. So Heidi, I mean, she was really smart. She saw the writing on the wall. She took some courses to learn how to do the tech, learn how to do the Zoom productions. And she asked me to come along with her for this new adventure. So we're doing cooking classes. We did one last Sunday. It was in Chicago. You know, we can do them everywhere now. So it's been really fun.
Was it like a baby shower or what?
This was a bridal shower. And I think that they were supposed to have their original plans where they were having a cooking instructor come to their home and, you know, a traditional bridal shower. But of course, that got canceled. So we did one online and it was great because Heidi left the Zoom open. We had about an hour cooking demo. They wanted to do appetizers, so that's what we did. And then the bride to be got to open her presents, and I mean, it was lovely. It was a bridal shower, just kind of spread out around the country, which I guess has its advantages. And it was fun for me. We made some really fun food. And you know, we're taking, that's what we're hoping. You know, we'll take the show on the road, as they say. We're hoping to reach a more national audience this way.
On the road with Shelby.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's tell people that you do have a YouTube channel under Shelbie Wassel.
I
And
do.
and yes, you do. And your latest one was summer foods, having a gathering in your yard, but being safely distanced.
Socially distance. Yeah. I
We
mean,
just, and what I thought was so clever, you made individual items in the clear plastic cups. So they had their own private dip. They had their 7 layered bean dip. The desserts were on skewers, a lot of skewers using the cups. It was very, very clever. So
thank
I
you.
suggest people to just look up Shelby Wassel. In fact, all her contact information will float up eventually in the comments for the show. That's Shallots Personal Chef Service. And you can find Shallots Personal Chef Service on Facebook and Shelby Wassel on YouTube. Before I forget, um, in being a personal chef, you went through the American Personal and Private Chef organization, and you have been sort of like a regional director on your own of all the personal chefs, like in the DMV and Pennsylvania. Am I correct?
Well, you're giving me a little more credit than I deserve. I was for 1 2 year period. I have since passed the torch, and we do have others. But we do. We have a regional chef association that is an outshoot of the national branch, which it's been really fun. We get together at least twice a year. Of course, our last one was via Zoom, like everybody else. And you know, we discuss, just like any other trade organization, we try to keep up current with what's going on with personal chefs around the country. You know, we're a very, very close knit organization. Um, if I can't do an event, you know, I ask others in the group if maybe they're available. So it's no competition at all. It's the opposite. We help feed each other, so to speak. And speaking of feed each other, we always, when we have our meetings, we always do a potluck. And if you want to talk about good food, try coming to a potluck where it's all chefs. It's amazing.
I did. I
You
think
did. That's right. Dara was actually, when I had a meeting at my house a couple of years ago, and Dara was one of our speakers. And yeah, I want to say we put out quite a spread for that. I remember I made my homemade gravlax for brunch. And yeah, that was a good time.
it was a good time. And that's when we start talking about one of the things I discussed is being a super taster. And people will say, whatever is super taster? Well, I had gone to an event where they had the certified wine master, and he said he had all these things. Says everybody put up your hands, and as he asked questions, the hands would drop. And he was narrowing it down, and he says, if you don't like bitter, if you don't like red wine, if you don't drink coffee, and it was like one other person, myself, he says, you're a super taster. And it's basically, I call myself a super smeller, but that's another story. But it has to do with the papilla that are on your tongue. The super taster has more per square inch. And in reading it, I don't fit some of the profile because they say that the super tasters are really skinny.
I read that too.
But and what happened is Shelby went, what did you say?
It was literally, your lecture for me was life changing, because here it is. I was the kid. My mother drank coffee like obsessively. I never could go near the smell. 4 years of college, I never had a beer because I just thought it was vile. As I got older and all the friends are into the red wine, I'm like, I would literally take a sip of red wine. And I always liken it to if you took an aluminum foil ball and put it in your mouth, and how it would just like make you kind of like cringe. That's what red wine would do to me. And everybody would say, that doesn't make sense. You're so into food. How can you not be into red wine? Or even white wine to a degree. And I'm like, I don't know, but everything just tastes terrible to me. And when you presented that lecture, and all of a sudden I'm going, beer, wine, coffee, I'm going, that's me. So, of course, I then had to research it. And lo and behold, I am definitely a super taster. Black licorice is another one that I absolutely loathe. And
It's
absolutely.
it's the greens like Brussels sprouts and things like that that have
And
I've
of
grown.
course, now I'll eat Brussels, but of course, I think most people are this way nowadays. They have to be burnt so that they're caramelized and it brings out some of the sugar, or it has to have something, maybe like a little, I don't know, something in it. I like them with dried cranberries, which makes sense because then it brings out the sweetness, so they're more palatable to me.
Right.
But
And I was
mhm.
reading the salt makes it palatable as well on the bitter greens, and fat makes it more palatable. So what some people don't know is, and I did something, I was at Johnson and Wales in Rhode Island for women chefs, and they did a testing of, how fat carries a flavor. So we did a plain chicken bouillon with no salt, no fat, and it tasted okay. You put
Dishwater, right?
a little bit of salt in it, and I went, okay, now it's starting to taste like chicken. And then you put a little bit of butter in it, and you went, wow, because it stays on the tongue and coats it and the flavor remains. You were talking cranberries. I saw something that you did, I don't know, it was online. It was a turkey breast. It might have been on your Facebook page.
Yeah,
A
so
turkey
simple and
breast
delicious.
that you put cranberry sauce underneath the skin when you were
Hmm.
ready.
This is such a quickie, but am I allowed to give Wegmans a little plug here since it is a local store?
Sure.
Um,
Well, this is really quite national.
but we're talking, right, exactly, East Coast anyway. But Wegmans, I mean, maybe the other grocery stores have it, but I just particularly like the Wegmans for a real quick night supper, but yet you feel like you've been in the kitchen a while. Wegmans does a honey brine turkey breast. Now, I don't always love pre-brined or pre-marinated products because they're over the top with the sodium, or they're rubbery, they've got too much preservatives in them. This happens to be a nice product, and it's readily available. So I don't know what made me do it, but Wegmans also has, when I'm not in a homemade mood, They have an orange cranberry sauce that they sell year round. It's in a jar. And I'll just take a little bit of it and just put a little smear underneath the skin, between the flesh and the skin, kind of spread it out evenly over the top of the breast and just let it go in the oven. The cooking directions on the breast work beautifully. You start it at a higher heat to allow it to brown. Then you turn your heat down. I think it's like another 15 minutes per pound at like either 3¼ or 350, can't remember off the top. And it's lovely. And you throw it together with some salad, maybe a little bit of a sweet potato, some green beans, and you've got a nice weeknight supper without putting any fuss in it.
Well, it sounds good, and that's something, because I like that little tart flavor to go along with my foods. But you've been doing cooking classes, what, for about 30 years?
I did. I remember because my
Diapers, right?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said you started when you were in diapers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think my oldest child was even out of diapers, but no, I did. I had always been passionate about food. One of these, my favorite story to tell is when I was in college. I cooked for myself in my dorm room, and I had a crock pot in the day. I had the crock pot, and I had an electric frying pan. So I remember I had a beef stew cooking in my crock pot. And I don't know, I didn't want to leave it. So like I missed a philosophy class so that I could continue cooking my beef stew. So, but excuse me. So when I got out of college, I started taking cooking classes obsessively. Took every class I could find at that point, whether it was sponsored by like a YMCA, or then after I kind of graduated to a little more sophisticated classes. And then later on, I wanted to kind of give back. So I guess my oldest daughter was about 5 or 6, and I started giving classes. And then it just kind of grew from there.
What do you consider, what, there is a question here. Let me ask you this. What is the benefit of a personal chef versus takeout from restaurants?
Well, it's a really different thing. When you have takeout, which is lovely. Look, I admit it. I'm doing plenty of takeout myself since COVID started, and I'm certainly not gonna say anything negative about that. But this is different because this is completely customized for you. I have a lot of clients who have specific health issues. They can't have, I have one, for instance, can't have any acid in her food, no citrus. So when you think about it, that really limits, no tomato sauce, so forth and so on. Her husband happens to be severely lactose intolerant, so we watch that. So, everybody has their own thing. Plus, if you're kosher, takeout is really limiting for that. I do kosher families. So I can adapt to your specific needs, gluten-free, whatever. I think in the long run, the price is probably a little bit less than takeout if you're doing it constantly. You're not in control with takeout. You really, unless you're in that kitchen, you don't realize how much sodium and how much fat is in takeout. So this way you are really getting healthier, fresher foods that are just right for you. And if you hate Brussels sprouts, guess what? I'm not going to make you Brussels sprouts.
Okay. Just a couple check-ins. Rona Chrisman Pepper says, great classes, very enjoyable.
Oh, that's sweet.
David Golliner, yay for Shelbie Wassel. Have your friends checking Carol Richmond Milner. Hi, Rona and Sue.
That's cute.
Okay, so just let you know. And then Gregory Ash. Hi, Shelbie. So let's come down.
Hi, Gregory. I don't know you, but
hello. Let's talk about the tools that most people should have in their kitchen, or what tools can't you live without? And for people to understand, you don't fix it in your kitchen and deliver.
No.
If she had an official commercial kitchen, she can't do that. So all these
That's
meals
right.
are prepared at each customer's or client's home.
That's right. That's right.
Back to my question. What tool or tools can't you live without for the kitchen? Or what have you seen lately that is like mind blowing? Or both?
Right. Well, you know, I think I'm somewhat of a traditionalist. I'm not sure. I tend not to like climb on board with all the newfangled toys because number one, I don't have room. And number two, I can't always teach my new brain or my old brain new tricks. Um, I, you know, funny, and every chef says this, you need good knives. Need good knives that are comfortable in your hand. It doesn't matter if they're not comfortable in somebody else's hand. They've got to be comfortable in your hand and they've got to be sharp. I do have my knives professionally sharpened frequently, a couple times a year. That's the first thing. And along with that knife, you need a good cutting board. And it amazes me when I go into people's houses. And I mean, now I bring my own knives, but I don't schlep a cutting board because you think most people have them. But some people have really crappy cutting boards that don't lay smooth on their countertop and it's wobbly. That's ridiculous. One of the things that I think is a food processor, I use my food processor constantly. That is one gadget that is a must. Um, let's see, what do I use on a regular basis? Silly little things. You need a decent quality vegetable peeler. Some people just have the worst cheapy little vegetable peelers, and all you're going to do is get frustrated and cut a layer of skin off. You know, it's like little simple things like that are so important. You don't need fancy, and you don't need an Instapot, and you don't need now it is nice to have a crock pot or fast, you know, it's nice to have all that, but you don't need it. You need your oven that is calibrated well. That's important, especially if you bake. You need um, burners that have consistent heat and decent cookware. I'll say that you don't have to have the most expensive, but you need heavy bottom, decent cookware. And
And
maybe, I'm sorry.
I say don't buy a set of cookware. Look for each individual pot. And
Bingo.
I'm going to pop in here and say, as to things, knives, you need a chef's knife, a good paring knife, and a bread knife, which the bread knife slices tomatoes, anything that's
Can
ready.
you see this one? I don't know. This is now, I have several of these. This is my chef's knife. You know, for my hand, it's great. I have, here we go. This is a serrated knife that we've used. This cuts a tomato. I've been married 42 years. I've had this knife for 42 years. It is amazing. Cuts the tomato like you can't believe. And believe it or not, I mean, I have paring knives, but I don't even use them that much. You see me using my chef knife for everything, especially when I'm at a client's house. Of course, I have my own separate um, to go bag for clients, but I don't want to schlep a lot. It's too heavy. So I really pare down.
A little trick that I know, and a note from Jeffrey came in here as well, is so for people, a little trick about your cutting boards. If you take a damp towel or even a damp paper, you put it underneath your cutting board and then your cutting board on it, it won't slide.
Right.
So it's a regular towel that's dampened, or I can use one of those, a strip of paper towel and dampen that and put it underneath and it won't go out or slide.
Good suggestion. Absolutely.
Let's see. What I have a question. If it's sometimes saving Miracle Kitchen tool on TV, forget about it. Oh, okay. If it's sold on TV, it probably isn't all that good, is what
the dice it, shake it, whatever's. Yeah, no. To me, I do say invest in one decent food processor. It'll last you forever. In fact, I have a video that shows you how to use some of the different blades. because that's another thing. Everybody, thinks the bottom blade is the only one and they can't find the top blades. But the top blades are great. You can really do a lot with them.
Yeah, when I have that hard piece of Parmesan, I put the top blade in. And actually, I have a RoboCube food processor. And people are going to go, what's that? I've never heard of that. But before there was Cuisinart, they were partners. And it was a wedding gift from my sister. And so let's say it's about 40 years old. And still, the blade is very good. Before I forget, I have two questions I ask before we wrap up. What is your most epic culinary fail?
Well, you know, I'll tell you one thing. What's nice about being a personal chef is that unlike a restaurant where you have your clients hungry and waiting for the food to, magically appear, if I screw something up, my clients, they're not coming home for a couple of hours. I have the opportunity of redoing it. Luckily, that doesn't happen too often, but I have that opportunity. But for me, the epic fails are just like the embarrassing things that happen when you're in somebody else's house. Now, we kind of have a saying in the personal chef community that if you left a client's house and, the fire department hasn't shown up, it's always a good sign. But I do have, here's one that just comes to mind. So I'm at a client's house and I was making a butter, I think it was a spaghetti squash. It was a spaghetti squash. And I was going to do it in the microwave to save time because I think it was like a squash casserole where you added Parmesan and sour cream. Well, it doesn't matter. That's besides the point. So you needed to poke holes in the spaghetti squash. You probably know where this is going. And I went into their drawer. I grabbed one of their forks. And I remember thinking to myself, it wasn't a very good, heavy quality fork. But I, jabbed some holes in it, whatever, and threw it in the microwave and set it for however long and whatever. And then I, go on to do something else. Well, all of a sudden, there is like this major boom explosion, like scared the living hell out of me. The door of the microwave flies open. There is projectile squash pieces everywhere. I mean, just everywhere. But you see, that's not even the part of the story. The good part of the story is that my client happened to be home and happened to be standing directly in front of the microwave when this happened. He had like squash shrapnel, like all over him. And I typical me, I just laughed. I mean, it was laugh or cry. And of course I ran over. I was afraid he'd be burned. And thank God he wasn't burned. But I mean, he was covered in squash. So yeah, I guess I would call that a fail.
Okay. So just, I'm going to let you think about this. What question didn't I ask you that I should have? And while you're thinking about that, let's remind people that they can find you at Shallots Personal Chef Service.com. They can find you on Facebook under Shallots Personal Chef and the Shelbie Wassel YouTube channel. So back to you.
Well, let's see. I do ask, I hope everybody watches my videos. A little shameless self-promotion here. I am trying to get that followers up because it seems like YouTube likes when you have lots of followers. So I will ask that you subscribe. You didn't ask me about my new grandchild, but that's okay. That's okay. That's my new thing. And thank you. Yeah. And if I ever get to see you again, that'll be wonderful too. And I think that's it. We covered it. So just, like I said, I'm going to be putting out some more videos. They run about 15 minutes. Sit down, grab a cup of tea, watch a video. They're fun. They're silly.
They can also hire you through innovative.
Yes. And if you do have something where you have an event that you're looking for Zoom events, contact myself or Heidi. like I said, the event industry, they're really having such a tough time right now. So, for at least the near future, we're Zooming everything. And the cooking classes are really fun on Zoom.
Okay. Shelby, thank you so much. And I have some notes for everybody. And good eating.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me.
So let me go with the notes. And next week's guest, very excited. You might recognize the name. You should, Chef Elizabeth Faulkner. And you would recognize her from the Iron Chef competition where she went against Jeffrey Sarkarian, I can't say his name, and Top Chef Masters. She had Citizens Cake in San Francisco. Um, she's the Women Chef and Restaurateurs Emeritus President. And we're going to be talking to her about the new project she's involved with, which is called 100 Pleats, which refers to the 100 pleats in a chef's toque that represents the 100 ways that you can prepare an egg. So next week, Elizabeth Faulkner, mark your calendars. If you have any questions for her, you can definitely send them to me at food@jmoreliving.com. And finally, Crucial, the French kosher bakery, is officially opened in Pikesville at the Pikesville Shopping Center. As well, right now, that the new J More Living issues are out on the stands where you're used to getting them free. So pick it up. Remember, you can always find the show on J More Living's Facebook page. It's there permanently after it airs live, jmoreliving.com, and the YouTube channel. Again, feel free to reach out to me at Dara Cooks. You can, Dara Cooks at Gmail, and that is my social media at Dara Cooks. We will be, let's see, I'm losing it here. It's a bad sector here. We love when you share the show. And share it with friends who will appreciate the content of the show. That always helps the show to grow. So until next week, wear your mask and may your plates always, always remain full. Thank you for tuning in.